January 18th, 2025. Dave Chapelle walks onto SNL and drops a bombshell. He's been to Diddy's house. Then his Netflix special reveals the full story. A back patio conversation, a swirled drink, and one creepy question: what are you into? Here's what Dave just exposed about Diddy's operation. January 18th, 2025. Dave Chapelle walks onto the Saturday Night Live stage, lights a cigarette, and admits he's in a pickle. Being famous doesn't feel fun anymore. It feels like storming the beaches of Normandy while keeping a smile on your face.
Now, I'm serious, man. You know what it is, man? It's just no fun being famous anymore. It's like y'all made it scary. You know what it feels like being famous? And scary is the right word. It feels like, and I'm not being...
The conversation shifts to Diddy. Chapelle's friends keep asking if he knew anything about those parties everyone's been talking about. The freak-offs, the allegations, the federal RICO case that somehow targets one man alone. Unprecedented in the hip-hop world.
I've been in trouble in my day. Well, I've been in a lot of trouble in my day, but man, let me tell you something. This guy, Puffy, buddy, this guy is in an enormous amount of trouble. I've never...
His answer: he wasn't there, didn't get invited. And when his friends hear that, they give him a look. The kind that makes you question yourself.
A lot of my friends ask me, they say, Dave, did you know anything about those freak-off parties? I'd be like, nah, man.
But the SNL monologue was just the beginning. December 20th, 2025, Chapelle drops his Netflix special, The Unstoppable, and finally tells the full story. Turns out he has been to Puffy's house, not to some massive party with hundreds of people, a smaller gathering, intimate, the kind of night where you actually talk to your host. I walked to that man's living room, Chapelle recalls. House is clean, traction on the floor, nothing slippery. You walk right through, perfectly normal evening. Nothing about the setting raised alarm bells, no obvious red flags, no baby oil bottles lining the walls. Just a regular night at a celebrity's house in Los Angeles.
And then every once in a while, something terrible happened. Wow! And I'm like, oh no! Puffy got hit!
Then came the back patio conversation. Chapelle sitting outside with Diddy, Los Angeles night air, drinks in hand. Just two successful entertainers having what seems like a casual conversation. And then Diddy does something specific. He swirls his drink, deliberately, the way someone does when they're about to ask something they've thought about. So, Dave, what are you into? Diddy asks. 4 words. Simple on the surface. The kind of thing you might ask someone you're getting to know. Chapelle's answer was exactly what you'd expect from him. Just honest. What Chapelle didn't realize at the time was what Diddy was really asking. The question wasn't about hobbies.
That's a tough way to find that out. Can you imagine if you were me reading a newspaper and found out?
I didn't know that was my big chance to sleep with Cassie. Chapelle jokes in the special, getting uncomfortable laughter from the crowd. Because everyone in that room now understands what Diddy was actually asking. The comedian quickly pivots, making clear he's not making light of Cassie's experience. It's about revealing how Diddy operated, how he tested people with seemingly innocent questions to gauge their interest in his so-called freak-offs.
I'm glad they didn't call me though, because the stories that come out about it are crazy. I saw one thing on the internet, so I'm not sure this is true. Probably doubt it's true, but I saw it. Some guy who said he knew Puffy, like, yeah, man. He's like, I was at the freak off one time and I went in the back room.
Chapelle addresses the viral hotel surveillance video that showed Diddy assaulting Cassie. He reminds the audience that Diddy settled Cassie's civil lawsuit quickly in November 2023. No criminal charges for that incident. Settlement amount never disclosed, though industry rumors put it around $35 million.
I've been in trouble in my day. Well, I've been in a lot of trouble in my day, but man, let me tell you something. This guy, Puffy, buddy, this guy is in an enormous amount of trouble. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this.
But then Chapelle shifts the entire tone. Because this isn't just about jokes or industry gossip. Cassie is a gangster, Chapelle says with genuine respect. She did something I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. She had to testify about her sex life? That's tough. Think about what that means. Having to describe in detail in a courtroom in front of lawyers and judges, and eventually the public, the most intimate and traumatic moments of your life. And Cassie did it anyway. But Chapelle's approach to the topic hasn't been without criticism. Some questioned whether joking about these allegations was appropriate at all, given the severity of what Cassie and other alleged victims went through. The SNL appearance had its own memorable moment when Chapelle joked about not being invited to the alleged freak-off parties. His theory? I have snitch energy. You could look at me and tell that I'm a snitch. The self-deprecating humor landed perfectly because it addresses the uncomfortable question everyone in Hollywood faces now. Who knew? Who participated? Who stayed silent? The jokes got darker. If you're 55 and you got 1,000 bottles of baby oil in the house, Chapelle says, clearly, can't stop, won't stop. The reference to Diddy's iconic song hits different when you're talking about alleged criminal behavior. The phrase, "What are you into?" becomes chilling when you understand its real purpose. It wasn't small talk. It was the beginning of a process, a way to gauge interest without revealing too much. If someone responded with genuine, normal interest as Chapelle did, the conversation moved on. If they responded differently, doors opened that led to rooms most people never saw. Diddy currently sits in federal custody facing sex trafficking and racketeering charges. His trial is pending. And suddenly, everyone in the entertainment industry is being asked about him, about what they knew, what they saw. For Chapelle, the answer is simple. He went to the house, had what seemed like a normal evening, got asked a strange question he completely misunderstood at the time, and went home none the wiser about what was really happening in those spaces. The Netflix special doesn't just reveal an uncomfortable moment. It exposes a system, one where seemingly innocent questions carried hidden meaning, where casual conversations were actually screenings, where people were constantly being evaluated for their potential participation in activities they didn't even know existed.
And all the flags will be at half-staff, many of them because Jimmy Carter died. Now, I got to tell you, Jimmy Carter, people go back and forth and say he was a bad president or a good president. I'm not qualified to even speak on that, but I'll tell you this.
Dave Chappelle's story about books and video games shows how Diddy's operation worked, how he protected himself by being selective, how he tested people before ever revealing what he was really asking about. But surviving a tense night at Diddy's house wasn't the only time their paths would collide. Sometimes gratitude and danger come hand in hand. May 2022, Hollywood Bowl. In the middle of Dave Chappelle's set, a man rushed the stage with what looked like a gun. Security scrambled, the audience screamed, and for a split second, Dave thought this might be it.
Behind me on the DJ table is one of the most prolific producers that hip-hop has ever presented, the mighty Mad Lib.
Then chaos erupted. The attacker had a knife disguised as a handgun. Security rushed in but struggled to respond. And in that moment of pure terror, someone else jumped into action. Someone who wasn't security. Someone who just happened to be in the audience that night. Sean Diddy Combs.
According to the LAPD, the assailant, who was in the audience, carried a knife that looked like a gun, climbed onto the stage and attacked Chapelle in the middle of his set.
According to Dave, Diddy physically tackled the attacker, got him off completely, helped subdue him while security was still finding their footing. Security slipped and stumbled trying to reach the stage, but Puff took action. The man who the world now knows for horrific allegations saved Dave Chappelle's life that night.
Wait, I gotta see this.
Dave came back to the mic, shaken but already cracking jokes. The whole thing was surreal.
Thank God that was clumsy. He's back there getting stomped.
Jamie Foxx ran up on stage to check on him. Chris Rock, who'd performed earlier that night, came back out too and made a joke asking if it was Will Smith.
Thank you, son. It was a trans man.
But the person who actually stopped the attack? That was Puff. That's the debt Dave carries. That's the complicated truth he's wrestling with. Fast forward to now. Diddy's sitting in federal custody facing sex trafficking and racketeering charges. And recently, Dave made a comment on stage that got people heated. He said he hopes Diddy might get off. The backlash was immediate, but context matters. And most people forgot what happened at the Hollywood Bowl.
It feels like I'm storming the beach of Normandy, World War II. But I gotta keep a happy expression on my face all the time. So imagine all the danger storming the beach, but I still look like this. The bullets are whizzing by and stuff is exploding. I'm just like...
In his Netflix special, The Unstoppable, Dave explained his position. Not defending Diddy's alleged actions, not dismissing the victims, just being honest about the human complication of owing someone your life. When I got attacked in LA, at the Hollywood Bowl, people forget Puff was the guy that tackled my attacker, Dave told the audience. He saved my life. That's not hyperbole. Dave genuinely believed he might die that night. The attacker had a knife shaped like a gun. Security wasn't ready. I had security that night, but they just weren't ready, Dave explained. They ran out, all of them slipped and fell. Puffy got my attacker and tackled him. That's a hard dude to be mad at after that, Chapelle admitted. And that's where the moral complexity lives. Dave didn't shy away from the darker side either. He brought up the baby oil. The federal raids reportedly found over 1,000 bottles in Diddy's homes.
Ain't nothing wrong getting older, but if you 55 and you got 1,000 bottles of baby oil in the house, clearly, can't stop, won't stop. You're committed to the lifestyle.
I'm 51 and I've never finished a bottle of baby oil, Dave joked. Years later, when I heard about that baby oil, I was like, what did those dudes slip on? Dave said, laughing. 1,000 bottles of baby oil. That's a lot. It's not illegal. It's gross, but it's not a crime. The audience erupted. It was dark. It was absurd. It was classic Chapelle, threading the line between acknowledging serious allegations and finding humor in the bizarre details. He even referenced the LA wildfires, joking about what would have happened if Diddy's house caught fire with all that oil. That's the tightrope Dave walks, making jokes while staying serious about the real pain involved. He made it clear he respects Cassie and the other alleged victims. Because here's the thing people miss. Diddy wasn't a monster to everyone he encountered. Some people genuinely liked him. Some people had positive experiences. Dave was one of them. And that's exactly how predators operate. They compartmentalize. They're generous to some while exploiting others. They can be a lifesaver to one person and a nightmare to another. The public wants everything black and white. Diddy's either all good or all bad. You either support him completely or condemn him completely. But life doesn't work that way. People contain multitudes. The public wants Dave to denounce Diddy without nuance, to say he's a monster and leave it at that. But Dave's doing something more honest and more uncomfortable. He's acknowledging that people are complicated. That gratitude doesn't erase wrongdoing, but it also doesn't disappear just because someone falls from grace. When he pivoted in the special to talk about empathy and leadership, contrasting figures like Jimmy Carter with those who lack humanity, the subtext was clear. The presidency, Dave said, is no place for petty people, neither is life. We need more empathy, more nuance, more willingness to sit with discomfort. That's what Dave's doing with the Diddy situation. He's sitting with discomfort. He's not asking anyone to excuse Diddy's alleged actions. He's not minimizing Cassie's pain or the experiences of other victims. He's simply saying, "This is complicated for me, and I'm going to be honest about that." The weight of gratitude doesn't disappear just because the world changed its mind about someone. When someone literally puts their body between you and danger, that creates a bond that doesn't just vanish when their crimes come to light. What makes Dave's position even more complicated is that he's not alone in this experience. Plenty of people worked with Diddy, partied with him, benefited from his generosity. Some of them are staying silent. Some are pretending they never knew him. Dave? He's being uncomfortably honest about the conflict. That honesty matters more than people realize, because predators don't operate by being monsters to everyone. Understanding that reality doesn't defend them. It actually helps us recognize how these patterns work. But Dave's complicated feelings about Diddy aren't the only reason he stepped away from Hollywood. Sometimes walking away is the only way to protect yourself from the system itself. January 2024, Cat Williams drops a bomb on Club Shay Shay that nobody saw coming. 83 million views later, people are still trying to piece together what he really said about Dave Chapelle, Diddy, and that infamous $50 million deal.
The one comedian, as we've been sitting here doing this interview, that you hold in very high regard is Dave Chapelle. Dave Chapelle walked away from 50 million. You said it was more. Tell the story.
That's right.
For almost 2 decades, the narrative stayed simple. Dave walked away from Comedy Central. $50 million left on the table. Season 3 never happened. Everyone said he lost his mind, mental breakdown, couldn't handle success. The narratives Hollywood wanted you to believe. But Cat's not buying it. What Dave experienced went deeper than just money, way deeper. And if you know anything about how Hollywood operates, the price tag on those deals isn't always printed in dollars. Williams knows this firsthand.
Now, I've had to turn down $50 million 4 times. 4 times. Just to protect my integrity and that I was telling you about. Right. Because P. Diddy be wanting to party.
4 times. 4 separate occasions where $50 million sat on the table, and Williams said no. Then he said something that made Shannon Sharpe nearly fall out of his chair. Something about Diddy wanting to party. Something about having to tell him no. Something about having receipts. The dress code was part of it. Both Dave and Cat have been vocal about Hollywood's obsession with putting black comedians in dresses. Dave questioned it on Oprah years ago. Cat turned down Big Mama's House too for the same reason.
I mean, but you know, some of these people...
Martin tried to put me in my first dress. When he had to go on his hiatus, he tell me, "Cat, when I come back, I need you. You my young partner, you my brother in comedy. When I come back, just promise me that my next movie, it'll be me and you. We gonna do it together."
Martin Lawrence had promised Cat a buddy cop movie. What he got instead was Big Mama's House 2. Another dress role, another compromise.
We could be playing a dog catcher this time. Why do we need to be in a dress? And I get so mad, I say, "You don't want me. You want Brandon T. Jackson." And that's who they went and got. Twice I said it, they went and got him. Just like I'm telling you, I had that other dude's work.
But the dress situation, that's just surface level. The real corruption runs deeper. Harvey Weinstein deep.
They canceled me for talking about Harvey Weinstein before the thing came out, but he offered to suck my piss in front of all my people at my agency. What am I supposed to do?
Cat got canceled for talking about Harvey before the hashtag #MeToo movement made it acceptable. The industry protects its predators until it can't anymore.
The industry doesn't mess with Cat because he didn't show up for the studio. No studios have ever said that. Look at my IMDb. It will show you that no studio has ever lost money with me on the script.
30 years of collecting secrets. That's what made him dangerous. When you know too much, when you refuse to play ball, they try to silence you, call you difficult, call you crazy, blackball you. Which brings us back to Dave and that $50 million Comedy Central deal. 2003, Chapelle's show became the biggest thing on cable. Season 1 sells 1.2 million DVDs in the first week. Season 3 gets greenlit. Production starts, and then Dave just vanishes. Flies to South Africa without telling anyone. But Dave's been trying to tell us what really happened for years. His 2020 Instagram video, Unforgiven, laid it all out.
All right, here's the story. I started doing stand-up comedy when I was 14. I'll never forget the first time I was on stage. The guy that introduced me was a guy named J.T. Newton.
Dave learned early what this business does to people. From that first microphone, he knew he was home.
About a year into it, when I was 15 years old, I had written a joke during the AIDS epidemic about having a good year. Something, I don't even remember the joke. Something about an industrial strength by Goodyear.
The exploitation started early. An older comedian asks to borrow a joke. When young Dave said no, the response chilled him.
Remember, I was a 15-year-old child. This guy was a grown-ass man. He stood up over me so I could see how big he was. And he said to me, "Really? I can just take it."
That's what this grown man said to a 15-year-old kid. And that's how the industry works. They can just take it, unless you're willing to walk away from everything. Then came the 3-card Monty scam in New York that took his last $60. The hustler told him something profound.
The way a father would look at a child, and he said to me, "Young man, don't ever come between a man and his meal."
That lesson applies to street hustlers and Hollywood executives equally. When Dave signed that Comedy Central contract, he was desperate, broke, talented, but powerless.
Do you know why Prince, the famous rock star that was a friend of mine, do you know why he called himself the artist when he came back?
Years later, streaming platforms made millions off Chapelle's show while Dave didn't see a penny. Perfectly legal because he signed the contract. But was it right?
Oh, no, thank you, we won't. But they didn't say either of those things. They went too far. They said literally, "What do we need you for?" That's what they told me.
Dave called the entertainment industry a monster, one that eats young black talent, spits them out, and keeps the profits forever.
But is that right? I didn't think so either. That's why I like working for Netflix.
When he walked away from that $50 million, maybe it wasn't just about money or creative control. Maybe it was about what else came with it. The parties, the expectations, the compromises required to stay in the club. But Dave found a different power. He asked his fans to boycott Chapelle's show until they paid him fairly. And it worked. Netflix pulled the show just because Dave asked.
What was crazy about it? I just didn't want to do it anymore. They said I smoked crack. That's impossible. I was a devout Muslim. I didn't smoke or drink. But I do now because you ruined my fucking life.
That's real power, not the 50 million. The ability to walk away from it and still win. October 2024. Paparazzi catch Dave in West Hollywood. Someone brings up Diddy's arrest. Dave's reaction? Maniacal laughter. The kind that says, "Wait until you hear what I know." The sound of someone who'd been waiting years for the truth to finally catch up.
All of these big deviants is all catching hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. It don't matter if you Diddy or whoever you is. TG Jakes, any of them. All lies will be exposed.
Cat called it in January. All these big deviants catching hell in 2024. 8 months later, Diddy gets arrested. Racketeering, sex trafficking. Everything Cat hinted at is coming to light. The pattern's impossible to ignore. Both Dave and Cat walked away from astronomical money. Both refused to wear dresses. Both got blackballed. Both stayed quiet for years while the industry tried to paint them as difficult or crazy. The relationship between Dave and Cat has its own tensions. Dave called out Cat's Club Shay Shay approach, saying he was messing up other people's money. But underneath the beef, there's mutual respect. Two men who chose integrity over industry acceptance. We're watching the mythology crack in real time. The carefully constructed narratives about crazy Dave and problematic Cat are giving way to something more disturbing, an industry that operates on exploitation, that uses money and access as weapons. Dave and Cat chose different paths to the same destination. Dave went quiet, rebuilt in Yellow Springs, and let Netflix give him a platform on his terms. Cat went loud, burned bridges, collected receipts, and waited for the moment the world was ready to listen. The real question isn't whether Dave walked away to avoid Diddy's party specifically. The real question is whether the $50 million Comedy Central deal came with expectations Dave couldn't stomach. Whether saying no to those expectations meant saying no to everything. We'll probably never know the complete answer. Dave's too smart to spell it out entirely. Some truths are better told through laughter and carefully placed pauses than direct statements. But we know enough. Two of the greatest comedians of our generation chose poverty over participation, chose exile over exploitation, chose integrity over industry acceptance. That Comedy Central contract Dave signed at 28, broke and desperate. He honored it by walking away, lost $50 million but kept something worth more: his soul, his sanity, his ability to sleep at night. 20 years later, he's unstoppable. Got a Netflix deal worth more than what he walked from. Got Yellow Springs. He has his family, got his freedom, and got the last laugh. Because while the industry was trying to destroy his reputation, Dave was building something they couldn't touch, a legacy that doesn't require their approval, a platform that answers to nobody but him, and timing perfect enough to tell these stories right when the world's finally ready to believe them. Cat saw it coming. Dave lived through it. Cassie survived it. Harvey's in prison for it. Diddy's fighting charges related to it. The age of truth, Cat prophesied. It's here, not because Hollywood suddenly grew a conscience, but because enough people said no. Enough people decided that $50 million attached to your soul isn't a deal, it's a transaction. And some things aren't for sale.